Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and welcome back to another haul video where I unpack some of the stuff that I've been receiving from eBay during my COVID retail therapy comics splurge spending. And today I've got another bunch of packages coming in. I've got a bunch of stuff here that I'll be doing at the top of the video, and then I've got more stuff in the mail coming that's not here yet, so you'll get again to see my beard and hair length change with the seasons. I'm going to start off the video with a very, very special package that arrived. I got a comic that came inside of this weird box. If you stare at this pattern long enough, you'll see a sailboat. Yeah, one comic in this box. Weird enough. Here's the fun part. You ready for this? Here's the comic. It's Young Love number 114. It's a 100-page giant, right? Really cool, huh? Well, if you look at it here, you can see that it's been bent pretty badly. How did it get bent, do you ask? Here's the box. Yeah, notice that the comic is actually larger than the box. So what they did was they set it in the box and then they just stuffed it in. They just stuffed it in. So I'm pretty irritated with that. It was very cheap. This is the last 100-page giant that I needed. This also gives me a nice run of Young Love. I think at the moment I have number 103 and up to 126, so that's great. I've been having trouble finding an affordable copy, and this was very cheap. But just on principle, I think it's just so rude. It's bad enough that they don't have respect for the comics, but I understand that not everyone is a comics, even the people selling them, a lot of, junk dealers or whatever. So it's one thing if they don't have respect for the comics, but as a seller, you should always have respect for your buyers. So this I found very irritating. I found the whole transaction to be irritating, actually. They had this priced at $9.20, but there was a make an offer thing, and in fact, the name of the account was Make an Offer, so or some variation of that. So I put in an offer of $8, which I think is completely reasonable for a $9.20 buy it now. It's not like I was asking for $5 or $6, and they came back with a counter offer of $8.70. Just on principle, I wanted to counter that offer with like $8.15 and just keep going back and forth because I thought it was so ridiculous to be nickel and dime like that. But eventually I decided not to be a 10-year-old and just to 70 cents. It's not a big deal. But I was irritated on principle because that felt like a totally reasonable offer. And anyway, I am happy to get the comic. It was already beat up. I mean, I knew it was already just a good, so it's not like I was looking for a gem here, but I think to me, it looked like it clearly got more bent as a result of being stuffed in the box, and that's just not cool. It's just not right. On to happier things. Here's one that I've already unpacked, and I'm really excited for this one. It is Sweetheart Diary number something 45, I guess, according to the sticker. So I'm really excited for this. It's a 10-cent Charlton. I'm starting to get to the point with the Charltons, the 10-cent, that I can have a sense of the time period within the 10-cent era based on their fonts and stuff. So pretty sure this is like 57, 58. They're very early stuff around the code, like 54, 55 has a very different font, and then their later ones have a different font as well. Really love this cover. This is one of a number of Charlton covers from this era, which are either strongly inspired by or direct ripoffs of Matt Baker covers. I meant to look up the Matt Baker issue this is based on, but I think it's an issue of maybe teenage romances. It has a schoolgirl on the side, and then it's got all these little background pictures on that one. That one, there's a diamond shape pattern instead of squares, but it's very clearly inspired by the Matt Baker cover. And there are a number of Charlton covers from this era. The other ones that I know about are just much closer direct rip-offs, but this is very clearly inspired by that one. They have it listed here as a fine, very fine. I think that's a little aspirational, but it's not crazy. I would have this at best at a fine minus. But I'm happy with it. I paid a little bit less than this. So getting a mid-grade Charlton from this era is actually pretty hard, and with a really cool cover like this, particularly with a yellow cover, which I love, I'm really happy with that pickup. All right, so I've got 2 more batches here. I'm guessing they're both the romance books, but I actually haven't looked at these yet. So here's a stack, and we got some issues of Falling in Love. It is Falling in Love number 53, a really low grade. It's got some weird staining, like ink spots on the cover here. Falling in Love 53, nice 12-cent book. Falling in Love 79. I want to look up the artist for this because it's very atypical for the DC look at this time. The sketchiness, it looks much more like a 50s Atlas book. But you know, I'm pretty confident it's not Al Hartley. So it might be like a J. Scott Pike doing sort of a throwback. I don't know. I'll have to check into that. It's very interesting. Falling in Love 85. Go Checks. Falling in Love 82. There's actually like a sub-theme if you look at enough of these romance covers. It's women who are afraid that their boyfriend will be killed because they're a race car driver. You could actually put a collection together of race car driver romance covers because there's quite a few of them. And then finally, it's Girls Love Stories number 113. This is an episode of the April O'Day soap opera, ongoing soap opera. She's a starlet. Not actually on the cover. This isn't April O'Day. You can tell because April O'Day has long white hair. Really cool pink background. I actually have a copy of this already. This might be an upgrade for me though, so I'm always happy to get upgrades, and there's no shortage of uses for doubles as well, whether it's trading or selling or giving them to people. There's always people looking for these. And finally, here's another batch of comics, and it looks like it might be more romance. Yes, it is. Girls Romance is number 112. Guess who? Vicky, the girl I love the mostest. No, it's Jean, the girl who thought you loved her. There's actually a bunch of covers like this too. You can put together so many weird subsets because they use the same tropes, but there's a number of covers where, it's particularly at DC, where they have the guy that like is guessing the wrong woman, and she's like, "Oh no." Girls Romance is 102, another potential subset. Dramatic train arrival or departure covers. I love these. I love the train covers. So cool. Girls Romances 96. Here's a later one. It's Girls Romances 150. Another potential subset. It's wheelchair covers. They're sort of evenly split, really. There's a lot of them where there's a guy in a wheelchair, but there's also a number of them where it's the woman that's in the wheelchair. That feels to me like it comes up actually more often towards the end of the towards the end of the Silver Age and into the Bronze Age. This is actually in pretty nice shape, which is great and always unexpected. And finally, it's Girls Romances 121. Not quite as in good shape, but nice go checks, good colors. So yeah, that's it so far. I'm really happy with all of these, except for that Young Love that was crumpled up into a ball by some, jerkweed. But I'm happy to even have that one because I can check it off my list, and at some point, maybe I'll get an upgrade. That does happen, as you've seen, fairly regularly. So for me, that's it for now because I have to wait for more packages to come in. But for you, that next package is taking place right now. All right, I'm back. Another batch of comics. You're gonna notice a theme with these comics because they're almost all from the same title. Got a new big batch of stuff in today, and almost, but not quite, finishes off a title that I'm reconstructing from my youth. I'm also going to be doing a podcast soon about this series, so I needed to reread them since I haven't read them since I was a kid. And that series is, ready for it, it's not romance, but it's not superhero either. It's Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter. Here's issue 2. It's interesting. I don't recognize the artist. The signature says Vice. I'm not sure who that is. Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter number 2. This is from 1975. Of course, this is the big Kung Fu craze in the 70s. Here's issue 3. This came in a package where issue 3 was actually stuck to the bag, so it's got part of the bag still stuck to it. I've mentioned this before, but when I was a kid, I got was given basically a giant collection of 70s comics, mostly DC, some Marvel, and there was not many superheroes. There were some, but it was mostly, here's issue 4, Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter. It was mostly genre books, and among those were the first couple issues of Richard Dragon, the Kung Fu Fighter, and I really liked them. But at some point, here's issue 7. At some point, I got rid of them, and I've never gotten them back, even though I really, they stuck with me. I also want to note in issue 7 here, it's Lady Shiva. I do have her first appearance, which I think is issue 5. This a lot actually came with doubles of some of these. And so some of these doubles are probably going to go right in my stuff to give away. I've got a mystery box that I'll be giving away soon. It might have some issues of Richard Dragon in it. Here's issue 8. And here's another copy of issue 8. And some of the ones that aren't duplicated in this lot, I already have. So I'm going to end up with a number of duplicates, but the lots were very cheap. And it was a lot easier this way than to get them individually. Here, this other issue 8, I want to note, and I'll note some of these other ones. This copy has a 12 pence stamp. So at this time, Marvel was doing British variants. They had been for a long time, where they have it would have the printed on it. DC does have some of those, but very few, and not this title apparently, because here they used the distributor, which is TNP. It's Thorpe and Porter, I think. I might be wrong with that. And so I've got several of these like this. Here's issue 10, not a Thorpe and Porter British import, but it does have the DC Comics Salute the Bicentennial. This one's actually I bought separately from the rest of these, so these came in 2 lots. One of the copies of this that was on eBay of issue 10 was actually missing this part, because the whole point was you were supposed to buy all 34 or 5 of them, or however many there were, and you're supposed to cut off the labels. They're all numbered, and if you got a complete set of all of them and mail them into DC, they'd send you a Superman belt buckle or something. I've never actually seen a copy that had them cut off, because, like, you're basically spending like over $10 on the comics and then hacking them all apart in order to get a chintzy belt buckle. So I don't think many people did it. Here's issue 14. It's got a giant giant grease pencil distributor mark, but it's also got the Thorpe and Porter 12-cent stamp, as does issue 16. So Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter ran for 18 issues. With this batch here, I'm only missing one issue, and that's issue 1, which is one of the ones that I had when I was a kid in the mid 80s. So that's a little irritating, but I've got a lead on one, so I think I'm gonna. It's not that hard to find. It's just a matter of how much money I want to spend on it. So I'm gonna pick that up soon, so I can read these all for the podcast. The series is interesting for a few reasons. One thing that's curious is that Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter did not actually debut in the comics. Writer Denny O'Neil, who created the character and I think might have written the entire series, actually created the character for a novel. As part of the Kung Fu craze in 1974, he did this novel where Richard Dragon was the main character, and then the character was brought into the comics. I have not been able to track down the novel. I found one copy online, and they wanted like $60 for it, and I don't know, it's a little too much for me. The character's cool, and that would be neat to have, but I don't want to spend that kind of money. The other thing that's interesting is that DC's Kung Fu series didn't hit like the Marvel ones did. Like obviously Shang-Chi is the big one, and that lasted over 100 issues. But then you got Iron Fist. His solo series, he had like 6 or 7 issues of Marvel Premiere. Then he had his own series for 15 issues. But then once they put him in with Luke Cage, he was in that series for another 77 issues or something. So also very successful. The DC title's not as successful, and so Richard Dragon is kind of a forgotten character, but other supporting characters from the series ended up becoming much more important in the DC universe. Not only Lady Shiva, who is a major character whenever they have like kung fu stuff or martial artists. Lady Shiva is considered like one of the big martial artists, and so she's appeared in a bunch of other people's titles, but also the other main supporting character in the series is Bronze Tiger. He doesn't become Bronze Tiger until the last issue 18. But then, of course, he was one of the main characters in Suicide Squad, and so he's a major character. And so the importance of the supporting cast has completely overshadowed the main character. So I find that really interesting. And finally, I got this someone just threw this in. It's from 1992. It's something called Evil Baby. Obviously, it's like a self-published indie thing. I really am looking forward to this because I love this sort of obscure, like weird, self-published stuff. I'm guessing I won't actually like the comic, but I like that it exists. So I was pleased to get this as a throw-in. Thank you to the seller who sent me this. And that's it for this time around. Next time around, we're gonna have it's going to be 100% romance. I've got a bunch of romance lots coming in, and so I'm going to end up with like a huge pile of romance books. So next time it's going to be a 100% pure love. But until then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.